And call this meeting to order. Okay, so I am also going to share my screen. I guess I am sharing my screen. All right, is the agenda up?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, and can you hear me clearly, or am I still kind of garbled every so often?
You're sort of a little staticky, but that's okay. We can hear you.
All right, I'll try to speak louder. I'm on my earbuds.
You're coming through perfect on my end, so.
Okay, maybe it's just Doug needs clean the wax out of his
Yeah,
ears.
it's perfect on this end too.
Okay, so what I want to do is go through the agenda, and Doug sent a couple of questions to Chris Cook earlier today that I wanted to suggest in our agenda that we combine two items, and I'll get to that in a minute, just because of that that dialogue that happened a little earlier.
I think
So,
Deanna was the only one that saw that, so the others don't know about that because I just sent it to my Clarity Subcommittee, and I just CC'd you just because I thought being on this committee that you ought to see that.
yeah, I
And then send it
wasn't
to everybody.
sure, because yeah, okay, I'll get to that in a minute, and actually the discussion I wanted to modify in the agenda and push back is actually not about the clarity part. It's actually about the chair and the districts part. And that comes from Chris Cook asking a question that I think raised, what do we do about this? So anyway, what I wanted to do is keep the agenda essentially in somewhat this order, cover the items that I think we have some pretty clear direction. What I'd like to do is move the districts and the council chair to the end, also hoping that we have the other two commissioners with us. Because as you'll see during this discussion, they're all kind of interlinked. And if you do part of one, if you do one and the other doesn't pass, it creates really weird dynamics in the charter. And so that's why I'll explain this later, why I wanted to just note that I'd like to move the council chair and the districts, join them as one agenda item and move them toward the end of the agenda so we can get the ethics review and then talk about the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because that's Chris Goodwin's group as well. Discuss what we want to do with that, but have that discussion before we get to the districts and council chairs. Is that okay? I haven't heard anybody jumping up and down screaming.
I think it's fine. I just have a question about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Was that one of the top 5? I'm still confused.
It was not what we, and I think given the discussion at the commission meeting this past Wednesday, I got a little confused. And so what I wanted to do is, we have not got a formal proposal, but I did want to discuss what we want to do about it in advance of the upcoming public meetings.
I realize that we are concentrated on the top 5, but that is something that our subcommittee is working on, and we have not, as a commission, said we're only going to have 5 on this on the next ballot. So talking about it, I think, is a good thing, because should we come up and go, oh well, we want to include this, then we'll have it, since we do have a subcommittee working on it.
Okay, so I want to keep it on the agenda. I just want to have that. It's not time trying to push it off the agenda. That the discussion on districts and council chair is probably going to take us some time to sort through. And I wanted to make sure we got all the other things discussed first before we get to that point, that discussion. And I see Commissioner Goodwin has joined us.
Good evening.
I just got a text from Anthony, or Commissioner Vendetti, and he said he is not on the drafting committee.
Well, okay, I thought he was, and I've been sending him emails like he was, so we will make
Okay.
sure that he's not on. He sent me the roster of who is on the drafting committee, and I thought we had 7 members. And he listed Doug Lasher twice, and I tried to confirm with him as the second
Two
Lasher,
votes.
Vendetti. So I guess we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 members, or do we have 7? 6. Well, all right, we'll move ahead without him.
I'm sure he's gonna be good with that.
Well, okay, it's good. He's the bill
Yeah.
tracker, so he's going to get stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of good. It's good that you sent it anyway.
Yeah. All right. So as I noted in the agenda, our schedule is tight. And after we convene, I hope it's around 6:30. Just I know all of us have stuff we're trying to plan for this weekend. It's a holiday weekend. But I wanted to make sure before we adjourn tonight that we have a clear path through the weekend into the morning of June 1st. Because I'd like to get stuff out and shared with the full commission on June 1st to give people at least 24 hours to review everything before our commission meeting. So that, and that includes, I'd like to have a discussion before we adjourn as to how we want to present things to the full commission. Do we want a Word document with a page for each of the proposals, or do we want a PowerPoint presentation? Yeah, how do we want to present it? And so I want to make sure we have that discussion before we leave, and then maybe make some assignments. Right now, I do not have another meeting of this group scheduled before June 2nd, and I think it would be a little difficult to schedule that and get it noticed, mainly because county staff's all gone for the weekend and they're not back until Tuesday morning. So that's kind of where things are with the schedule. After June 2nd, I will be sending out a doodle poll to schedule, depending on how things go, June 2nd. And at that meeting and what happens after that meeting, I do want to schedule a meeting for us to get prepared for the actual packaging these for ballot language, which I'd like to take advantage of us at least having that June 9th to 23rd timeline where the public events are happening, to at least strategize and get prepared to jump in, because we aren't going to have a lot of time between when we get all the public comment and June 30th to package things as ballot measures, have a legal review as to form, and then have something prepared for presentation on June 30th for the first touch of the two. The second touch will be the formal approval that we would make, approval or not approve for this year's ballot. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to move us into, let's do the clarity first. And let's see, Doug, I think I sent out this, which was kind of a public draft or a version. This was your original version that had a couple examples of specific language changes. And so I wanted to talk about, and maybe Doug, you can lead the discussion about what it is that you're suggesting, and how we present it, at least for the round of public meetings.
Well, I think the summary, which was the one before this one, without, I mean, I could share examples so the public understands that, but I thought we were instructed to just do a summary for discussion for the public, and to sort of phrase the what the amendment would be. Our committee went through the entire document and made numerous non-substantive changes. There are a couple areas we may probably need to meet again because there will probably get thrown some things. We did, or at least thought that we didn't need Article 10, but from your notes, what you sent out, that maybe we still need to do that. So we may need to come back and craft that either where the drafting committee does that, or which is fine, or the clarity committee could try to work through that. I haven't fully. I always thought that there'd be some transition type of thing, and Chris Cook had said, well, maybe you could just insert that in other articles, that whatever you need to do a transition, and not use a transition Article 10, but you could use it. I could go either way on it. But
So this is what I kind of marked when we had our kind of email back and forth earlier this week. This is a version I emailed out to all of you that just kind of summarizes what it is that the intent would be. I don't know if your email to Chris Cook was reflecting that these clarity changes occur over multiple articles in the charter, or if you were more focused on the district's discussion, because that does.
well, actually, all of that. It dawned on me as I was reading your document and the complexities, and I think about, we've been looking at this and studying it. It's complex for us to throw it at the voter who's going to spend 10 seconds deciding whether they're going to vote for something. we need to be rethinking this, or may have to rethink how we package this. I don't have an answer, but I'm thinking about the voter grabbing the ballot and saying, do I want to make these changes or I don't? Or do we give them every, we've gone through different, 5 different things or 6 different things. They're not thinking about that at all. And so how do we put this together? And that's why I asked Chris, what would happen? Because in the original charter, the voters were given a choice. Do we do this charter and all the things that are in it, or stay with what we have? And the voters said, go with the charter. They just, did everything lock, stock, and barrel. Because there's probably some good things in it and some things that, were left undone, which we're trying to fix. Sometimes I wonder if we ought to just say, okay, we want to go to version 2 charter and just say, do you want to stay with the charter we have now, or do the charter and just have everything all in one package?
Well, and
Anyway,
I think that's
but Chris is going to look at that.
Yeah, I think that's something that once we hear back more definitively from Chris Cook, that we need to discuss with the Greater Commission, because if we have the ability to choose between packaging it all together versus packaging each amendment separately, that's a very important choice. I don't agree with her assessment that she emailed, and I'm glad she's going to look into that further, because I think Chuck was the one who pointed out that Clallam County did it differently than, was that right, Chuck? Clallam County did it differently than she was saying, right?
Essentially, they had one resolution from the Charter Review Commission and attached 6 exhibits, which were the 6 different amendment proposals that went on the ballot. The concern I have, and I know this was a concern of the freeholders, is essentially the charter was an all or nothing. I mean, you're voting for the charter or not. And if you package all of these amendments together saying all or nothing, you run the risk that they could say nothing. And then you end up with no changes.
Yeah.
I also really like I think that I saved the Clallam County resolution, and I actually converted it to Word, just because I like the way that
You should ask, because I have, oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay. I like the way that they laid it out with the proposal, the summary. It looks like Doug may have mirrored his kind of along how they did it, but I thought theirs was really concise with how it was laid out. Now, I'm not saying we have to package ours the same way, because I do think it's very important that we're doing something a little different. But I like every one was uniform, and it had a template, and it was very clear and easy to understand what they were asking the voters. So I think it's a great example.
And then the actual changes, the markups are shown as any ballot measure, even if it's a bond or ordinance. Those get shown in the voter pamphlet, but they're at the end, which kind of encapsulate the changes. So what the voters see on the ballot is a simple ballot measure. You approve or disapprove this amendment. And if you want more information, you can go to the voter pamphlet or you can go to the resolution. So I guess my question is, I'd like to start moving these forward and deciding, are these what we want to send to the full mission next week for kind of a public presentation of these different amendments? And so this is the suggestion that I came up with based on Doug's proposal, which is just summarizing examples of some of the changes that would be made and not get specific, but basically this is a consideration.
Yeah. So how's the communications committee going to use our, because I assume that once we get public input, we'll come back and relook at this and may have to repackage things differently or maybe have a whole new hot topic that we need to, that we
Well,
didn't think
we're
about.
going to need to eventually come back. Anything that on the Charter Review Commission moves forward, we're going to need to package into the form of a ballot measure and then figure out how we're packaging these for a resolution to move them onto the ballot. That's stuff that we're going to be doing in about 3 to 4 weeks. So be prepared, because that becomes formal language. And there is going to be we're going to have a serious discussion what that formal language takes. If you want, I can send you all that Clallam County packet I put together because I like their template. It's clear, it's easy to follow. It shows how it went on the ballot, and it shows what went into the voter guide. And so looks like, did you share what like Danny, you just shared something on the email, but
Yeah, Terry just asked me to email the Word version of that of Clallam, so I just emailed it to the entire subcommittee just because I had it handy. So
okay. Whoops, I'm not on that one. There we go.
It came out as a PDF. Is that what I'm looking at? Oh, convert to Word. I see.
So I don't want to get bogged down on the presentation as a ballot measure. I want to kind of reach closure for each of these. Now, my understanding, and I'm not on the communications subcommittee, but I have talked to people on it. My understanding is there will be a PowerPoint presentation. They'll present it at the town halls, which they'll take what we're packaging and give it a kind of a public display. There'll also be a poll or a survey that goes out that takes these measures, and I'm not sure how they're going to link the information to behind the measure, each consideration, but it will be an opinion survey asking what they think about it.
I can speak to that a little bit if you want, Chuck.
Yes.
Okay, so real talk about how meaningful this input is going to be. We've already made our first decisions with the general directions we're going in, and those are not going to change the way things are moving forward. What the first survey in the town halls will be able to do is get meaningful input that will help guide the way each of these things look. And in the survey and the town halls, we're not going to get into the weeds. We're not going to get into specific language on this round. This is really seeing, what do you think about this direction? What do you think about that direction? What are your further thoughts? And getting those back to us. So it's not as complicated as I think we're starting to make things here. So I just want to put that out there. And it's going to be very much more on the conceptual side rather than the here is 130 or whatever, you know, a whole page of text about an item. It's going to be, here's the gist of an item. This is what we're looking at doing. What do you think? What questions do you have? what would you like to add to the conversation? And it's not going to be a dialogue back and forth. We're going to have shared information, and we're going to ask them to share information with us outside of like responding to questions and such, rather than discussing items so much. So if that provides any helpful context, and other communications members, please chime in if.
No, I think you pretty much kind of summed up, you know, what we have going so far around that. And I do, oh, never mind. That's
So I guess my question is, what we package for the commission to review on Wednesday, let's say clarity or administrative amendments, is this how you'd like to see it?
I think, I mean, yeah, I think if we do it all the same, I mean, what I would like to have by Wednesday from my perspective is like the same template for each of the big five, and do the amendment proposal in like a paragraph or less, and then the explanation, and then is there an additional one? I think that if we just have like one page for each, I think that gets us started where we need to be, and then we can either cut it back or add to it when the full commission. I mean, that would be where I would come from, and then hopefully between now and Monday, we can divvy up who's going to physically draft those, and then circulate them maybe back to Chuck as kind of the clearinghouse, and then get an email with all of them out to all of us before Wednesday, because I don't think we'll be able to meet again before Wednesday.
Well, the current schedule has us, or as me as chair, sending this package to be shared with the full commission the morning of June 1st. That's a
Okay.
day before the meeting to give people time to review it. So any work we do is going to be over the weekend.
Yep.
okay. I guess I'm a little confused because I'm thinking that what we have, the proposals that we have and that have been sent to us, for me, is sufficient knowledge for us to have a town hall and stuff. So anything that we do now differently, to kind of word things differently and do that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know, maybe Kim can chime in on this, because I think that, you know, having this kind of first touch with the public, you just, like the document that we're looking at right now, I mean, something like that says, this is our amendment proposals, this is an explanation of it, and asking, and town halls asking, you know, and presenting it that way. So are you saying that we're going to be doing something different than like what we're looking at right now
No,
to present?
what I'm hoping to do is that we can package things, because there's a little different nuances between the subcommittees and their proposals, as you'll see, and I want to just get a clarity on what it is that we're presenting on Wednesday and getting a template. If this is the template, and what Kim shared with everybody earlier was kind of a way to formulate the template so the subcommittees could get us something to look at.
Yeah, I think that's a good summation. I mean, basically what we're doing is we're the drafting committee is the central hub for anything because some body needs to be that funnel, right? And so tonight the hope is that, or not tonight, but you know, in time, that we have basically like what would pretty much be the slides, but not in a slide format, but just like, you know, here, very quick summary. You know, this is not ballot language. This is just, here's the item, here's the explanation. That's topic number one, you know, and then number two, number three, you know, each proposal
So
that
that's what we're looking at right now on the
Yep.
screen.
Yeah,
Here's the
and
item,
so I
here's
just
the
want to,
explanation. So going further with these, I think this is what we, unless I'm confused, this is what
when
we
we-
need for the town hall and that kind of stuff.
all right, when we go into a few of the other items, they're going to look a little different than this.
So we just
And
need to
so-
like put all of these into one document that all the
Yeah.
proposals kind of
And-
looks similar, you know, because yeah, that sounds great to me.
With just the specifics about the change not getting into language at this point in time.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to need that in a month's time, or less than a month now.
The
So
language,
be
yeah,
pre-
can be
Be
our
prepared
ongoing
because
thing over
we've
time.
got, our big work is to come.
The conceptual pieces are the most necessary right now because we also need to get our talking points together. And until we have a definitive list of these are the things that we are looking at that we all can reference, we can't fill out those talking points. So yeah, really just keep it narrow, keep it simple for
Now,
now.
W-
Doesn't
Which
mean we
ones?
can't start work on the language, but that'll have to be a separate thing moving
and
forward.
that's why I'd like to convene us sometime during the middle of June so we can start getting prepared for this because we will not have a lot of time. And we are going to need to develop a lot of text. And it's going to be more legal requirement text that we have to develop.
There's no reason you can't assign out these like one person,
Mhm.
hey, you are the first one to draft some potential text for this amendment. And then we have something to work with when we really want to get into it. If like
Right.
there's 6 of us and each one of us has one of those things, like not necessarily for this first document, but to work from moving forward, we can preload all this work by getting that done in the background.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. I just want to say that sounds like this is the template we want to use to package things to present Wednesday. And this is to be the first time we've actually packaged all of our considerations or proposals together in one place. So that's the, I guess that's my question. Are we okay with this template and specifically for the clarity subcommittee? Are we okay with what's on here or do we want to assign Doug or somebody else over the weekend to make any modifications?
I'm okay with it. I think that looks good. I read it earlier when you sent it out.
Yeah, I think this looks good.
All right. I'm going to close this one.
Well,
out.
I think we're still including the RCW numbers, aren't we, Doug? After all,
Yes,
or as a
yes,
footnote or
yeah.
something.
If I sent to the Clarity Committee the entire text, there are a couple areas that we may need to revisit, like
Okay, so I thought
stuff like
that's why
that.
I sent when I packaged.
I
this
only brought
together.
it up because it says that in this paragraph here.
Yeah, so if one of you could take this
Oh,
and clarify this example part. Like, I'm not privy to all the different examples, but I wanted to, basically, this is my attempt to package as an example of how this gets displayed to the public rather than giving them a whole bunch of RCWs and a whole bunch of codes and all these other things that only us government wonks really care about. All right, so Doug or Chris, who wants to take this one and kind of finalize it over the weekend? Probably doesn't need a lot
What do
of
you,
work.
I guess I'm still puzzled. Chris, yeah, what we did was I put the explanations and the RCW, so we had both instead of because a lot of people just don't understand the RCW.
Yeah.
They-
Well, I'm talking about just right now. There's the first sentence of that second paragraph under.
yeah, I
explanation
got.
summary.
I
All right.
probably should fix
It
that.
says one thing, but that doesn't
Doug,
represent
I'm gonna
what we
sign
talked
this.
about. That's the only change. So
Doug
what the
does
ask
it.
is, I think right now, Doug, is if one of us can just update the language in this particular
Yeah,
page
All
I
right.
to
agree.
reflect what we talked about. And I trust you to do whatever you want with that.
Okay, I'll
All
work
right.
on that.
All right, so I'm going to move to this next one because I'm not sure if this is something that's it's kind of a clarification thing, but I don't
Yes.
know what the Clarity
I-
Committee actually decided to do.
I I sent that out to the Clarity Committee, didn't I? I think I did. I have to go back and look at my emails. I've sent a lot out. But this was a proposal by the GIS and the auditor in terms they needed this language in there in order to do the work that they need to do. So I know that I've got there are 3 of us on the Clarity Committee on this board. So
Sounds like you don't have clarity on the Clarity Committee as to whether to move this ahead.
did we? I think I asked for feedback and I didn't get any. Everybody thought it was okay, but I may be wrong on this one because I've sent a couple other emails out too.
Yeah, this is housekeeping. It doesn't substantively change anything. It's part of the clarity piece,
Right.
and
Why don't you
Yeah,
just
I don't have a problem with
can
that.
you add the yellow to this?
Yeah, I think it's in the clarity piece already, because
Well, I think-
it's the whole charter. There's lots of stuff in
Right,
a lot of
but
different articles.
This is actually the top priority for Greg Kimsey and Bob Poole.
Yeah,
I've
that's
talked to
why-
both of them about this.
Right. Clarity is
So-
important to be
Well,
on the
I don't care
ballot.
about the other clarity items. This specific thing is they don't want to split precincts because we currently have split precincts in the current charter districts.
Yeah.
And they don't want that. It's a tough thing to defend and it's a tough thing to keep track of. So my suggestion is just add this yellow part.
It's in
to
there.
this
It's in our.
explana- I know it's
Yeah,
in
it's-
your whole package. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is I think this is important enough. I'd like to demonstrate to the
Okay.
county auditor and the
Okay.
GIS department that we do support. So it's almost a political, let's put it in there now and let
Yeah.
the public understand it.
Okay, I can do that.
All right. Now, this is what I was getting at next because this looks different than what we just saw. This is Ethics Subcommittee. And there's actually a couple of pages in here, but what are your thoughts?
Did you send that out?
Okay,
was-
so since I'm on the ethics committee, I will acknowledge that it's not in the format that was requested. And so we'll need to work on that. Can you scroll back up to the top? Because I don't have it in front of me. So basically, the proposal, like the DEI proposal, is to create an office of, I forgot what it's called here, an office of
Independent
oversight and
Ethics
oversight
Commission.
and compliance office, and then to have an independent ethics review commission. And so that is going to be our proposal. And so
There's a reference to Jacksonville. I don't know the Jacksonville.
yeah, and
Florida.
that's only for our benefit. It's
Right.
it's not. So I can work on getting that in the template that that the other ones are in.
All right. And can you do it by Monday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, it seems fairly, it's just packaging what you see there. And that's really just because the only reason that it's put that way is because we really haven't, this was the last thing that we talked about. And so I can do it. I'll
right.
make sure it gets done. Yeah.
So my plan is, I know Monday's a holiday, so it's Memorial Day, and typically I really reserve Memorial Day for a memorial.
Okay.
That's just my political side of things. But my plan is Monday afternoon, Monday evening, I'm going to package things, email our kind of draft package to each of you and ask if you could take a look at it and get back to me by 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. And then I'll finish repackaging, send it off to the full commission, and that's basically the package that we're going to be presenting to the full commission on Wednesday night. All right, so Terry, you have this.
Okay. And that, really, Chuck, that should be fairly easy. It's just saying, here's what we're recommending, and these are the reasons why. So
All
that's
right.
really, yeah.
I just
okay.
don't want to be assigned everything, so I just want to make
No,
sure
no,
that you're assigned it.
I'll do it. Thanks.
All right. This is what the full commission did. Was it last week?
Mhm.
I just threw together what the changes were, but I think it'd be easy just to put it in that type of format. And I can do it myself. I don't mind, but unless somebody else wants to jump up and take it on.
That one should be super easy too. It's just like, I
Is
think
that a
when I was helping make survey questions last night, when I was putting survey questions together, we just came up with a really brief, quick reason why we think why we're proposing the 5 years, and so that that was super easy too. I'm willing to take that on if you do redistricting.
Well, I'm going to be busy with the district thing, and as you'll
I
see
know
when
you
we
are.
get to it.
But this is
Um,
easy too, and I can do that as well if you just want this in that format as well.
Right.
I can-
And you'll notice this does not have the change regarding the districts. The 5 districts does impact, but this would be a standalone amendment.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. And if you notice, under vacancy, we don't need to change anything.
Right.
But I was looking through that and see, well, if we go to 5 districts, does that change how we fill vacancies? And
And I
it's,
thought that was really great of Greg Kimsey to point that out. Why don't
yeah,
you
we
just
don't
use
need to
what's in
change
there?
that.
He's like, why don't you just use that for the vacancy?
Because but my issue was, what happens if the vacancy is in one of the county-wide positions on the Charter Review Commission? Let's say Eric Holt resigns. How do we fill Eric Holt's seat? Because technically that seat doesn't represent one district, it represents all of them. So I guess it just means all you have to do is live in Clark County. If Eric Holt resigns, you have to live in Clark County if you want to be considered to replace him.
Right.
So no, Terry, you're taking this one?
is
Sure, I'll
this
do that one.
is this substantive, do you think? Or can this just be in the
Yes.
clarity?
Oh no, this is substantive. This changes the commission terms. It changes the frequency of the charter review. In
Yeah,
Clallam
I mean,
County,
this is going to be super easy because, like I said, I was working it on it.
Okay.
and now let me tell you, when you see Clallam County's example, what I was trying to do in packaging Clallam County was take one of their measures and track it all the way through. The problem is I couldn't find all the materials. Clallam County in 20,
Cats are invading my front yard. That's why the dog's going crazy.
oh,
They're walking across the front yard. They're just evil.
Clallam County in 2015 changed their charter review from 10 years to 5 years. In their 5-year review in 2020, they changed it to 8 years. So they actually changed it twice, but it was a ballot measure, a separate ballot measure each time. And I don't know the reasoning behind it, but when you look at the Clallam County packet that is getting sent around, what I packaged was a measure, one of the going from to 5 years, and then the voter guide information was actually referring to the one going to 8 years, but it was just to show an example of what these things were. All right, next. What do we have next? Ethics. No, I've lost myself in the agenda. So we talked about frequency, districts and goal are going to be moved to the end. Ethics we talked about. That's Terry. DEI. Let's talk about what we want to do with that.
So with that one, I was under the impression, perhaps erroneously, that since there wasn't really a general consensus or majority opinion on direction for this, that we would wait until we got some community feedback and had a chance to discuss it further before drafting anything. But that said, since we do know the options, we could put it on the list to at least start drafting this stuff so we have something to work with moving forward. I'm not sure what you all's thoughts are on that. And Grant, it's not one of the top 5, but it is something that I think it's important that we at least work on while we have where we have the space for it. So,
I
Yeah.
agree, Chris, and we did talk about that like right before you popped in, and I just said that this is something that's going to be talked about at the town hall, and so it's good that we have, something, and I think we have a clear what we're asking for with a commission and an office, and I don't know if everybody got my example. I'm sending out examples of counties that have
They're right
DEI.
before the
So,
meeting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again,
and I'll keep doing that just to assure people that that's something that counties do. And those offices are in, standard in many counties.
And what I could do is put like, there won't be any new content that's different than what was on those slides that we shared, but I could put it in this format if that would be helpful.
I would, if you could do that,
Okay.
because I think what I heard was more of a difference of opinion whether it would go on this year or next year.
It could be
Um,
either at this point, I think.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
also thought I heard, at least let's put something together if we want to ask people what they think.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
That's
I
what we
heard.
have. Yeah.
I think
I'll
it's
defer
both
to
of those
Kim.
things. Don't you
Yeah.
think, Kim? It's both of those things. We want to hear what you think, and we may put it on this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the top priorities from the initial workshop, and the big five was top priorities to get on this year's ballot. So I just want to restate that again. So I propose, as you've all said, that we put it on as a discussion for this town hall with the options that Chris has put together, and go from there.
All right, and you can do that over the weekend by Monday evening.
Yeah, easy. And
Mhm.
actually, we have all these amendments summarized in like 2 to 4 sentences in the survey already, and I could share those with this group if that would be helpful. But yeah, for conversation starters at least, not necessarily getting into the nitty gritty.
I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of
a good
editing my
idea
committee, by
to
the way.
share that with this group.
Oh, you want to share it now or share it over the weekend?
If you'd like to see it now, we can pop it up on the screen during this meeting.
Yeah, I'd say let's go for it. We got a big discussion. Our next item is the big discussion item. So,
Well, maybe we. Okay. Do you want me to do it now?
I don't know. What are your thoughts, people? I'm okay if you just want to take a couple minutes.
I mean, I think it would be helpful for people to like read the survey questions, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time going into it. There's a couple of things. It's still being kind of tweaked, but it'll give you guys a general idea of what we were thinking that Kim, that you guys wanted to do with the survey, and what you wanted to do with the town hall, and asking for input. So yeah, it might be a good idea if you could pop it up, Chris, and we can do that.
Okay. Like right now, I feel like we're kind of interjecting on. We had a flow with like checking on the amendments.
Yeah, maybe we could do it at the end if we have time, or just email it over the weekend. I'd rather get through what we have to get through today, and then that would be an added bonus.
Okay.
Because ideally, whatever is presented at the town hall would mimic what's in the survey, right? So we need to make sure we get done today's stuff.
What's in the survey, what's going to go online, what's going to be prompted on social media, what's going to be the center of our town hall discussions should all be essentially the same questions with different levels of information available.
All right, so let's try to reserve a few minutes at the end, because next one's going to take a little time. Now I got to figure out where I put everything. I think it's here. All right, so we have two things regarding that both kind of regard the county chair. One is replace the countywide chair with a district councilor, or in other words, convert to 5 geographic districts and eliminate the position of elected countywide chair. The other one is, once you have that position is gone, how do you redefine the chair? And they are linked. You cannot redefine the role or redefine the chair if you have a ballot measure that doesn't pass to create 5 districts. And so I don't know if you'd rather start with going through the districts and how it cascades down, or start with the chair, because there are sections of the chair definition that could stand on their own.
Why can't we package it all together?
Well,
that
that
way-
was, I think that was your question as well to Chris, or
Well-
the intent of your
Well,
Well,
question.
actually, mine was to package all of our changes, but for this, if we're going to just do it sections, I would suggest, and that's how I thought we were going to do it, but we got the district split out from the. I thought we were just going to try to fix Article 2. It all revolves around Article 2 and the legislative
Well, actually, it doesn't.
process. Well, I know there are elections, section 2
No,
and
no,
6.
it kind of is in, there's actually 4 articles that are affected by this.
I would propose that anything that is connected to something else is all together in one, because it seems pointless to have things that are not, they needs to all be together. Anything that's dependent on something else needs to be put together as one thing.
And I think this one too I don't think this needs to be as complicated as we're thinking at this general touch. I think that, and I'm even happy to take a stab at doing a summary example of this, just basically outlining that we're proposing going, moving away from the elected chair to an appointed chair. And we believe that would mean an amendment to the districts as follows. I mean, I really think it's as simple as that.
Well,
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Deanna. This came up when Terry and I were like deep diving in on the survey questions too, where it's really, at least for this one, it is a package. If expansion does not happen beyond the 4 districts, then the chair remains by default. If it does happen, the chair goes away by default. So it's really, if the citizens choose to increase the number of districts, then they will also de facto choose to not have the chair be a thing. And it would be another amendment to add a chair role or whatever on top of that. So it's really, it's built into it at this point.
well, I can tell you, if you just change going to 5 geographic districts, you create confusion because there's sections of the charter that specifically reflect a countywide elected position. And so what you'll have to do is to
Agreeing
make
with
sure
that.
you've tied this together, that it's a cause and effect item.
I don't think he's disagreeing with that. He's just saying we're
All
going to
right.
go to 5, and this is our proposal: go to 5 and have 5 fully represented districts and not have an elected chair.
Right,
That's
but
yeah,
when you say
package.
de facto, it means you're leaving the other things as is, and it's understood that they don't apply. In a legal
Other
world,
things, Chuck?
what?
Other things are you talking about?
You use the word de facto, which I thought you were intending to say, let's change to 5 districts and then everything else just kind of falls out. Maybe what you're saying is you're agreeing with me
What
that,
everything else are you talking about? Would help me.
well,
understand.
you said de facto, going to 5 districts de facto eliminates the countywide chair position. In the
Yes.
charter, there's specific language around the countywide elected position in 3 different locations. So
Oh, so you're talking about the other pieces. Okay, well,
I'm
the
saying
change happens, and then
we
the
need to
things
make
that are
sure they
affected
all
by
get.
that change are symptoms of the change. That can just happen as part of the writing, as a consequence of the change if it happens. So,
Yeah, so-
at that point, those pieces become housekeeping, and it just kind of falls into place when we correct the whole charter after
You're
we
right.
pass the
Okay,
one thing
I
that's
see
actually
what you're
changing, and
saying.
that's kind of what I'm getting
Okay.
at.
I see what you're saying. I just want to remind you that that implementing or authorizing language will still need to show up somehow. And we'll just have to figure out how that gets packaged. But the proposal, if
Well,
I
that's our
understand
job, and it
this,
doesn't need to be complicated, though. Is that we make a substantive change to the charter, and then we trace what else needs to change. And we're like, if this
Mhm.
happens, this language will change, that will change, that will change. And
Right.
it doesn't have to be very complicated.
Yeah, but we have to show as the ballot measure what needs to change. So we can't just say change to 5 districts and then have the voters say, understand it. Well, somebody will come through and make all these other changes after this gets
Well,
approved.
we can say that we're going to make this one change, and the charter will be updated to reflect the effects of this change.
Right.
And we can, we could discuss what those things are, but
but keep in mind, it's
Yeah.
not an automatic amendment. This is the amendment, and it needs to include
Chuck, I
everything
don't
that
think
gets
he's saying
amended.
that. I
Okay,
don't think he's saying that it's automatic. He's just saying that for what we're doing now, we can go, okay, we're gonna package this.
yeah,
So you
so,
could
all right,
say, in one sentence, you can say we are having 5 fully represented districts with an appointed chair, as opposed to 4 districts with an elected chair. And so the language in the charter will change to reflect
okay.
that change.
So that, let's
And humans
walk,
will do that. It won't be automatic. It'll be our committee right here.
right, and we'll need to, yeah, all right, so let's move on. I think I understand, I think we're all in agreement. We just kind of found a different route to get there. So our proposal, and I wanted to kind of clarify, because the proposal is to go from 4 geographic districts, is to go to 5 geographic districts in the county council. Is that the proposal? All right. To gain
Yes.
to gain that proposal, that's the cause, is the cause to go to 5 districts. The effect then is we eliminate the countywide chair position, et cetera, et cetera. Is that kind of, I'm trying to simplify this, and
That's
That sounds about
exactly
right.
it. That-
all right,
To just
so that's,
clarify, it looks like here that 7 is completely off the table
Yes.
based on what the committee came up with. Okay.
it was
so
9 to
I'll have to
6
make some
majority
adjustments.
to
Okay.
go to 5. I did ask the question because one of the 9 to 6 majority vote had a kind of a sub vote that said, well, can you investigate a future trigger that could be worked into this amendment? And what I found out was through Christine Cook was you're basically making decisions for future voters now, and you can't do that. You can't have a future trigger that there's nothing in state law that allows for a future trigger. That's really what I'm trying to get at.
And I think that that's what drove a lot of people to say, oh, no, we need to have the Charter Review Commission every 5 years then.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I can't imagine keeping only 5 districts if we have a huge population explosion and stuff. So,
Uh-huh.
so I think that we're all good with the
Mhm.
5, with the 5-year Charter Review. So,
All right.
But I'll update the survey to reflect that too. We had 5 or 7 as one of the pieces, so we'll fix
Right.
that.
And moving on to this one now, I want to just close the loop on that 5 to 7 districts. Chris also suggested we can either put in, oh gosh, I'm not going to. We can either put in something in this amendment that commits a future charter review commission to look at the 7 district issue, or we just note that if as part of our proposal to go to a 5-year cycle, that the expectation would be 5 years from now we'd come back and look at the population, and that charter review commission could decide to go to put on the ballot a 7 district proposal.
Why don't we just focus on when we're actually writing the resolution or the amendment itself? One of the recitals can be given the current population of Clark County, which is X district. Sorry, we could always put something in there so it's clear to future people that we were looking at population specifically or something like that.
Yeah, and she said that that's okay.
makes
You can
sense.
put in something
that.
that, so, well, so Deanna, I am happy to have you take on trying to simplify this. And if you want to try suggesting some language to add in here, be happy to give that to you as well. But I'm also available over the weekend if you want to do some back and forth iterations on this. I'd be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, no, I'll take a stab at doing just like the template form to submit to the commission, and then I'd be happy to continue to tackle this with you about like in drafting the amendment. I mean, I'm happy to tackle drafting any amendments. So once we get there and we have more detailed language, I'm not worried about it, and it doesn't like it's gonna take me. Sorry, I'm fighting with the German Shepherd right now. I'm happy to help with any of them. So
All right.
right.
And eventually we're
Yeah,
going to
and
need to
me
do
too,
that
along with this
because
one.
as we found out, we are not going to have the legal counsel for us actually write these measures. We can only have her review them. So, all right, so I want to show you how this cascades through. And so any ideas to simplify how this chain of command goes through. So going to 5 districts is provided for in County Council Composition Section 2.1. So that is really what triggers this, going to from 4 to 5. There's also the charter review makeup, which is in Section 9. I'll get to that in a minute. Well, actually, I'll just go down here. All right, so 2.1 changed from 4 to 5 is really what triggers everything. Then what falls out then is what happens to the county chair. So that gets redefined and needs to be redefined if you change how they are elected or appointed. And so Kelsey Potter's group
Yeah.
has
we did that.
language on that.
Yeah, we did that.
Section 6.4, and I've had a lengthy round of discussions and number crunching between Greg Kimsey's office, and he actually involved Kathy Garber today, and GIS to produce that map that you might have noticed is attached to this. Greg Kimsey's opinion is this amendment would need to reflect what's already in the charter now, and the charter now has a list of precincts by district, and then it has a district boundary map. And so what we put on the ballot will need to have both. That's his opinion. Question that we need to talk through is the public going to want to look at the map and weigh in?
I think
Sorry, I'm confused on a point here.
early.
Sorry, someone else was talking.
Oh, let's go ahead, Chris.
Oh, okay. I'm a little confused about this map piece. We cannot draw the 5 district map on ours, right? That's not something
Yes,
could include,
we
is
need
it?
to. We do.
But the redistricting committee is going to do that, isn't it?
You can't. The problem is, this is the amendment that creates the 5 districts. We need to have something when this takes effect. I mean, we could say this takes effect at the time the redistricting committee, which is actually a charter committee, defines the districts, but there's no guarantee they'll have their work done before filing week of next year. And because filing week is in state statute, we can't change that. So that would create a possibility that we'd have approval to go to 5 districts, but no 5 district map with which people can file for office.
Okay.
So my
So
question,
we would submit a map, which
Mhm.
could be altered by the redistricting
Mhm.
if they wanted to. Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
okay,
And that,
Yeah,
that
that
could
was-
happen if we don't do anything. They could still affect the 4 districts in their review that comes up next year.
this is really just to kind of have something now and then to guide the redistricting committee saying, we
Mhm.
want 5 districts, which is really what we want to do right now. We don't want to wait, you know.
And I can tell you, of all the amendments that we're talking about, there are 2 that will come up that will be the most political. One will be the partisan, nonpartisan, and for some reason I forgot to put that up for us to take a look at. The other is this. And the issue is going to be Eileen Quiring, if this passes, will be
Do about,
effectively out of a job. Because if you notice, when we map who goes from now to who goes then, 1 through 4 go to 1 through 4, county chair goes to District 5 in this mapping or the transition. Eileen Quiring doesn't live in District 5.
Okay,
she
so
would
I
be-
don't think that we should be concerned about any particular politician or anything, and I don't want anybody that's listening thinking that redistricting ever kind of takes into account where people live, where sitting politicians live and where they don't live. This is the kind of a fact of life for politicians, I believe. Lots of politicians get redistricted out of their districts. That's what happens, and so I just don't.
Right.
If someone wants to
And-
make it political, that's not right, and
I
that's
could-
not the,
yeah.
we're not the
Yeah.
reason that we're doing it.
Right, and what I was leading toward is exactly that. The map that you see was not drawn with any of the 5 current counselors in mind. It was drawn to balance the population within 5 districts in Clark County. And so the transition plan basically keeps government functioning until the next year's formal redistricting and elections, and creates the map to do that. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. This is probably going to be one of the 2 top issues as far as political pressure.
But I don't think we need to respond to that. I think what you
No.
said, Chuck, is a perfect answer. So, and what Terry had said. So I think we need to, there are many times where politicians have moved to a district. If they really want to run, they'll, and that's their priority in life, they'll move. And there's
And there's been
a number of examples for
in the
that.
last 10 years of that. So
Yeah.
Um,
On section 6.4, where it talks about the reference to initial, that was taken care of. That's sort of a cleanup thing, and that's the Clarity Committee took care of that. So that's on the long list of things that they went through.
okay.
I just wanted to say real quick, I understand Chuck's point. Because this is such a complicated issue and because there will likely be pushback, it just behooves us all to be knowledgeable and make sure we have clear and concise talking points to communicate out. So I understand.
Mhm.
I agree with Chuck's point. Also, just living in District 4 and kind of probably being a little more on the ground with some of the grumblings. Yeah, it's just the more we can prepare our fellow commissioners to just kind of shut down those political questions and redirect with factual information, I think is great.
And I'm also trying to prepare everybody that we got town halls coming up where I think these questions will probably come in.
I know, and I agree, and I totally agree with you, Commissioner Rush, and which is why I don't think that, like, I've really been pushing back to, like, we shouldn't be mentioning, politicians' names in these in meetings, and but I understand it's a reality, but that's not shouldn't be our concern. Yeah.
So who's going to be talking about that? Is it the chair of the communications committee or the co-chairs, or someone else?
Are running a town hall, so but I don't think
Okay.
anybody is going to be really discussing.
We just need to prepare them for that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Give them the
Right,
talking
right.
points.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that the town halls, the communications team puts them together, but the co-chairs will be facilitating the conversation, and that the chairs of the subcommittees should be present to answer any questions about their specific, things that were submitted in these proposals.
Okay. I just want to make sure
I,
you got what you need to do your talking points.
Yeah, I'm trying to find, oh, you know what? I did not send out the nonpartisan one, so I want to make sure we have a few minutes to cover
I could
that.
send that out. Oh, I don't know how to send it out, but
Well, or
Yeah.
I just pulled up the Word version. I don't,
Yeah.
unless, for whatever reason, I didn't save down if you had prepared a template.
I
Right.
got templates running out of my ears. I got it all different ways. I got stuff. So
Well, I may ask you when we get through this to put yours on screen.
I don't know how to do that, but is that under share? You'll have to walk me through
Yeah.
that.
I'll walk you through that in a minute. So I want to
Right.
get back and finish this. I don't know about section 6.5 and 6.6. It might just be we leave those as is, because that was my trying to figure
Mhm.
out when they come in. And I don't know if we need to change anything other than that one, don't split precincts language change. And I tell you, Greg Kimsey, when he looked at this part, said just leave it. Don't put in any extra language about a transition plan and the redistricting committee. Just leave it, which I'm okay with. Section 9.1, we've talked about that, does refer to 15 members and does include a three county-wide positions. So that language will need to have a slight modification to it. Doug, I think this gets to your earlier question about the cleanup, because the way that section 9.7 is worded now, it basically means once we amend the charter, section or Article 10 goes away.
Yeah.
This part going from the 3 commissioners to 4 geographic districts to 5 council positions in the original charter was a big part of that transition section, and we're going to need that language slightly adjusted, but we need a home for it. And so the question is, do we put it into Article 2, Article 6, or elections, or what? But it's really a transitional provision. Or do we just not take out, or just amend the language in that 9.7 to remove that that language that makes Article 10 go away, and instead keep the transition provision for this in Article 10. So we need some discussion as to where that goes. I don't know if we need to really figure that out before what goes in front of the commission on Wednesday and what will go in front of the
Yeah.
public.
I
don't
guess
think
I'd
they
like to
care where it
know
goes.
specifically what are the items so we can identify if they could fit in another article, or if they can't, then we could just keep Article 10 and just cross everything out and just leave those things as the transition points. I just don't, someone needs to identify those transition points. Have
And
you
I
got
don't
that,
know.
Chuck?
Well, I don't know if there's any other things that will need transitions. I don't know if creating new offices will need a transition. My suggestion is for the Clarity Committee to clean up section 9.7 so that it doesn't remove Article 10. And
So
that
you would prefer keeping Article 10?
I would prefer keeping Article 10 because
Okay.
it does outline the transitions.
So scrapping the content of Article 10 from the old one and just creating a new Article 10, is that what we're talking about?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Because a lot of the other parts of Article 10 no longer apply. It just talked about what happened before 2016, and that's
Okay.
all past.
So I haven't really thought about what items would be under this new Article 10 transitional
Well,
provisions.
let me go through that.
Can you send those, or
Well, it's
do
in
you
this,
have those?
right now it's in this proposal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you could.
And this is not specific transition language. This is the items that are part of it. So
Okay.
there will be, let's see, the map is not in Article 10. The transition primarily is how we go from the current setup to the new setup. That's really what's in that and how it's done. So it basically says positions or district 1 through 4 representatives will be district 1 through 4 representatives under this system. Council chair becomes the district 5 representative under this transition. And then it also needs to have some language about when they're up for election, because council chair position will be up for election next year. So the District 5 position will be up for election next year.
Can I say that for the purpose of what we are doing now, this is great going over it to get talking points for the town hall, but we will not be going into the weeds like this and talking about all these little things at town hall. It'll be like, we're redistricting, we're doing this, but whoever is going to be answering any questions, should they come up about transitioning and stuff, be prepared with something shorter than what's here. Just, very short, precise, to the point, going, like if the council chair is going to be transitioned into District 5, and that's all you really have to say. And so we don't, just going through all of this detail during the town hall we might lose people,
Yeah.
because they don't really want to get that much into the weeds.
Yeah, Terry, it's helping me. If the Clarity Committee is going to be writing this up, I'll draft something up and send it out to the Clarity Committee so that we
Right.
could
And so
buttonhole
Deanna
Article
and
10.
Chuck
So I
and-
think thanks for that.
Deanna and Chuck, maybe Deanna, I'll be happy to help with you do the redistricting too, and come up with talking points for that if you'd like this weekend too.
Yeah, I mean, I think these points are great for the talking points and also for like the FAQ that's going to go on the website. I figure these are going to be like great. Because these are going to be things that people who want a cursory level of knowledge are going to look at the summaries. People who want to dig a little deeper are going to go to our website or social media. People who want to dig even a little deeper probably email us. And so I think that just offering people the different levels of information and they can access what they feel is appropriate is going to be great.
Exactly. And yes, and as we but for the town hall, we wouldn't be going into this much depth.
No, but
we'd be there for hours.
What I'm going to do is I'll write it up, send it out to my Clarity Committee, have them review it. I'll CC Chuck so he knows what we're trying to do, and then you could chime in on it too.
I think this is a little beyond what the Clergy Committee is supposed to be looking at.
Yeah, I think
Because
this is
this is a
districting.
substantive change.
Okay.
The
Well,
Clergy
we're getting someone
Committee-
else do it then.
Because again, it's one of those, if you approve one but don't approve the other, you created these potential conflicts. And so to me, what the Clarity Committee could do is to clear up 9.7 to allow for future transition provisions so that it just automatically does not get rid of Article 10.
Okay.
So now, big question, do we add this map to what gets presented at the town halls? Greg Kimsey suggested, I agree with him, that if we do show the map, we don't list the incumbents.
Yeah, I would take away the
Absolutely.
I would take it, yeah, 100%. Also, I would perhaps include it in the town halls, and if this was proposed and passed in the charter, maybe not in the charter, but if I'm a citizen, I want to see the current map next to it. I don't want to have to look that up on my own. So if we could get a current map in the same style, that'd be great. There's a bunch of ones out there, but this one looks good.
So yeah, I love this map and shouldn't miss in any incumbents. I do like the fact that where you had the populations, like, and how they were unbalanced and now they're balanced. That I think will be a real selling point, because I think that, and Chuck, you did a great job with Greg Kimsey and going through and working with them, going through precincts and making it where they're truly balanced districts. They're all within like 1 to 2% of each other, and instead of having like District 4 being like having tons of like
they're actually all within
20,000 more people than the other one. So
they're all within 0.2% of the target.
Right. So I think that can be a real talking point to sell. It's like, okay, look, there's 100,000 per representative, and we think the committee feels like that is about that's where we should be at 100,000. If we stay at 4, the 4 districts, then we're getting to a point where a representative has too many representatives, and so we're trying to make it fair.
Yeah, this is brilliant work, and Terry's got an awesome point. I would couch it. Starting to think a little bit about the like talk points piece, where we wouldn't try not to think of it as selling it, but I think this is just straight up descriptive by showing those differences and the changes. So just kind of having that kind of focus on demonstrating, not selling,
Right.
will I think help us. Maybe it's semantic, but
Right. I agree. And sorry I said that. But demonstrating why the change is, we feel the change is necessary.
So is new Article 10 going to be brought up at the meeting on Wednesday so that we could get a group to pull that together, the transitioning?
I think we just need to note that we are needing to have a transition portion of this, or some language that transitions from now to this, but not get specific as where it belongs. We'll figure it out, but I don't think we need to do it before Wednesday.
No.
I agree. I
No,
agree. I don't think
I
it's,
was
I don't
I
think
was
it's
saying that
necessary.
we would need to talk about it so we could set up a committee to put this together, is what I was getting at.
Do you think there
on
is
Wednesday.
there's a committee is necessary? It's a pretty simple change. Like I
Well,
think
if
that
someone wants
even,
to write it up, that's fine.
well, I
I
think
thought,
even
yeah,
the county
think
auditor
rewriting it up.
suggested a change.
Yeah, I think we need to, it's probably just, instead of spreading things out, I think we just need to house it within our committee here. Just so it doesn't get spread out like butter. But I think we are going,
I agree with that.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
we
it's-
need a separate committee. I think we just need to keep it here, but understand that we're going to have to write some type of language.
makes sense to me.
that,
All right,
yeah.
That makes
so
sense.
I will, I think I have the 4-district map with the current population. I think that was the first thing I got from Bob Poole. So I'm going to look for that. But over the weekend, I will try to send you this one without the incumbents, and then the 4-district version with the current population by district in there. Because
Is
you'll
that
see
the
that,
same one that's in our current charter?
yes, that'll be the current charter districts with the
Yeah,
current
we already have it out there.
populations.
Yeah, but does the one in the current charter have the current populations that are in that? I think that's what
Yeah.
I think that's what Chuck's gonna
Mhm.
Chuck's
And
gonna send out, one with the current populations and how it's different than it was in the beginning original charter.
All right, so I want to just have a quick touch on nonpartisan, but I also want to touch on, are we saying that we'd like to blend the chair work into this one and make one a comprehensive proposal? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought was originally going to happen. But
Yeah, I think it is. It's one proposal.
All right, so Deanna with Terry's assistants are going to take these two products, blend them into one presentation package, and I'll work on the maps.
Oh, perfect.
And then I'm available all weekend, so if you need any of my touches, let me know.
Hey,
All right.
hey, yeah, I had other homework. I'm sorry, I've already forgot my homework. The dog ate it.
Your other homework is to take the ethics
Yeah, which is
commission.
gonna be easy.
So
And just put it-
this is something I've been keeping track, because it's been just giving me heartburn every single time we try to do anything as a commission or committees, where there's not clear, like, this task is being done by this person coming out of the meetings. So I could recap all of our assignments from this one if you'd like, Chuck. If that would
Oh,
be
thank
helpful.
you.
Yes.
'Cause I don't trust my memory.
Let's do that in a minute. I want to pull
Okay.
up one more
Okay.
thing that I forgot to send out. I apologize to Doug for all the work he's done on this one. And this is the nonpartisan. All right,
Okay.
Doug, you want to quickly walk through what we're seeing here?
yes, the commission asked to have 2 options, and that's what we presented. It's taking the language that was in the Clallam County presentation It just says the amendment would make the first option would be have everybody partisan, nonpartisan, and the second option would be all the administrative positions nonpartisan, and the counselors partisan. So that's the difference between the two. There is a section in there about vacancy, but we could deal with that later if we wanted to, and have that for the second half, because what it creates, the vacancy, if there's nothing there, it goes to the statutes, and the statutes say that the council will appoint someone interim before the election. So we're just taking somebody in the office that the elected official has the authority, and the council, if the elected official doesn't do it, to have one, or they'll nominate 3 people in their office, maybe 1, 2, 3, because the first person may not want it to do it, or maybe gone or something. And so it's allow continuity of operations and keep out any partisanship games that may occur, which has happened in the past with the counselors picking people. And so it allows the office to continue on its mission. And
All right.
so anyway, that's that piece. Can or cannot, it may, it depends on, there's been some discussion whether adding that piece to it, it's important to have it. I mean, that the question over partisan versus nonpartisan, that has to be voted on in November. So, and people would file, so you could address that issue in the second half about vacancies if you wanted to, or you could tie it together, because it really is all one process, talking about these nonpartisan positions.
So I just want to clarify, the 2 options are just the executive elected positions is one option, and then all positions. I'm not sure this
In
is
in
what
both
it's saying.
cases, the options, because the council or commission has already stated they wanted to keep all the administrative elected positions, executive elected officials, have all of them stay nonpartisan. And the question was whether the counselors should be partisan or nonpartisan.
No,
Now,
but
there's
those
actually
positions,
a third option. They could reject these 2, and we stay with what we got.
well, I know but that's default.
But
What
if
I
you have
guess I
options,
just want to clarify what the 2
accept or
options are,
reject.
because it's not quite clear in what this is saying here. Option 1 is the executive positions to go nonpartisan. Is that option 1?
I consider executive officials everybody except for the counselors. Those are legislative folks. But
I've called them administrative electeds, and Greg Kimsey corrected me, says you should really consider them executive electeds because they actually show up in the executive article in the charter.
right.
So I just
The counselors do not.
all right. So
Yeah.
again, I'm trying to clarify the 2 options that we're currently considering for the ballot. Option 1 is the executive positions only. Option 2 is all elected positions. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, what it says is the amendment would make the county assessor, auditor, clerk, counselors, prosecuting attorney, sheriff, and treasurer nonpartisan. That means everybody's nonpartisan.
That's
You got it
all.
right, just backwards, Doug. Option
Right.
1 is everybody is nonpartisan. Option 2 is everyone except for the counselors is nonpartisan.
Right.
So I think you could simplify this by just saying option 1 is all positions. Option 2 is just the executives.
I was just trying to be more specific on what those
all right.
positions are, because people will say, well, yeah, assessor doesn't necessarily need to be nonpartisan, you know,
So-
or the auditor clerk. So that's why I was putting their names in there.
So my question for the group is, does this mean that these are options that we're going to pick one, or these are going to be options on the ballot?
I think we're going to get feedback from the community and revisit this and vote on which one we want to put forth as a proposal, is my understanding.
Because what I would like to suggest is we ask for them to have 3 options. Option 1 is just the counselors. Option 2 is just the executive electeds. Option 3 is both.
So this is actually, I think that's how we framed it in the survey now that I think about it, Chuck. It is, so if we have 2 options, it's not these options. It's, do you want to change the counselors to nonpartisan? And then also, do you want to change all these other ones to nonpartisan? They can say yes to both, and that's everybody, or they can say yes to the section they want to see changed and not the other if they want to. So I think you're right. This is, as written, is not quite the questions we're going for.
But I thought the commission had said they agreed that all the elected officer, the administrative officers or executive officers would be nonpartisan. That is where their position was on that. There was a question whether they wanted to have the counselors partisan or nonpartisan, and that's what this is trying to address. I think that there was a commitment by the or agreement by the commission that they'd be nonpartisan, the executive positions.
Yeah.
That's what we would put forth for the voters to decide on. So
When you talk
proposal
about
is to make them
executive,
nonpartisan.
when you talk about executive positions, you're talking about
Not counselors.
prosecutor.
Yes.
Yeah, the prosecutor,
Okay.
the auditor, the treasurer, the
Okay.
assessor, clerk.
Kim, what do you recall? This one's a little fuzzy.
Yeah,
on
there
me.
was a majority that decided, yeah, the only point of where was unclear was whether or not the counselor positions would be nonpartisan or not. There wasn't a very clear majority direction that our commission wanted to do. So that's the one that is kind of on where we want some feedback.
There was a lot of, we should put this forth to the voters to decide, rather than I strongly feel from at least I think half the commission, which is why putting it out there as an option for the voters to choose is, I think, a good direction for that.
Yeah, but that's not something that this drafting committee decision can make. That's a commission. That's the entire
But
commission.
that's
will
what's
make.
effectively in here right now.
No,
It's a lot-
Make
it's-
everybody
I
nonpartisan.
agreed with your first
Yeah.
statement, Chris, when you said that you thought we were going to go back, get feedback, go back, and then we were going to decide what we were going to present. So and that's my thing. I don't think that we were going to go back and then the drafting committee was going to decide. I think we were going to go back and the commission as a whole would decide. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So, yeah, the purpose of the town halls is to kind of present, like, here's where we're at right now and what we're thinking about putting on the ballot. If that's true, right, the commission has come to a majority agreement that they want to put that at least the executive positions are nonpartisan. Where there was a point of, I'm not sure, was the council positions. So it'd be good to make that clear at the town hall, which we'll do. We'll say, you know, that we're looking to put this on the ballot, and potentially we want your feedback even more of whether or not to put the counselors on there as well. And then we would bring this back after all the town hall, we got all the feedback, we would bring that and make a final decision as a commission on how to move forward.
Yeah, and that's still those 2 questions though, is 1, do you want to make the counselors nonpartisan? And 2 is, do you want to make these other roles nonpartisan? And then a yes to both is a yes to all, or a yes to one is a yes to one.
Well,
I think we keep it.
Well,
simple
because
for
you're
I
not
the
think
public.
you guys are splitting hairs here now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not-
This is just
Yeah.
the
When
simplest,
you look
like,
at the survey, questions, it becomes very clear.
So I agree with Chris. I think you put on counselors, put on the other ones, not counselors, and see what the results of those 2 are. If they strongly both come back and say we want to see both, then that's a strong preference for both. We're eventually going to have to make a decision as to whether this is one ballot measure or two. Because as framed here, you put both option 1 and option 2 on the ballot, you could really set up a conflict if one passes, if let's say, well, if one passes and one fails, or
Why would that be a conflict?
I don't see any problem with that.
well, all right.
It's either one, it's binary for the counselors and it's binary for the rest of them. And it's what we
But
have
if-
on here already. It's just simplified. It's
All right.
that is
Well,
in effect what is being chosen.
but if you put all positions as one ballot measure, and you put just the executives as another ballot measure,
That would be a problem.
that would be a problem.
But you
So
say
I guess I'm trying to
counselors
clear it up.
and
What
everybody
exactly
else.
are we expecting here? So it's going to be a measure, whether it's all positions or whether it's just going to be the executive electives. Is that my understanding is where this could head?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be one or the other. It's not going to be two separate things.
Okay, good. All right. So who wants to clean this up?
Well, clean up what part?
Well, to clean it up so that one, it makes these two are a little convoluted. The two
Well, that's how
options.
they told the commission gave it the charge for us to do. They wanted two options.
I'm looking for somebody to clean this up to present to the public, because right now this is a little convoluted if I'm a general citizen trying to understand what is it. I mean, I'm willing to take this one on, but we also have a template, and this is a little outside of that template. But it just needs to be cleaned up.
I'm not sure if I'm not explaining very well or if I can't draw a picture, but that simplified two questions will get you the answers to this without being confusing with a bunch of words and without mishmashing all these different titles in both of them. Because those questions, counselors, yes or no, what do you think? And everybody else, yes or no, what do you think? Directly addresses this without, I think, any room for confusion.
I'm just trying to take this as this is going to be part of the package we present on Wednesday, and in theory is the package of these handout materials or presentation materials. This needs some cleanup. I'm trying to find out who wants to volunteer to clean this up.
So I think that cleanup might not be the right word. I think that it just needs some simplifying and maybe put in summary form. And I think that since Doug drafted this, if he wants to take that on and just use the general template, I think that's all that needs to happen.
Yeah, that sounds good to me too.
All right, Doug, you're volunteering.
I'm not volunteering. I didn't mean to volunteer him, but I thought earlier he said he was willing to. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I may need to be calling some people to
Doug,
get
do you
some
want me to
additional
take this?
feedback.
Do you want me to take this on and I'll share it with you when I get done?
Yeah, if you want to
All
do
right,
that.
I will. I will take this.
To me, it seems pretty clear. I mean, either you are going to have everybody be a nonpartisan, or you're going to have the counselors remain partisan.
Okay, I don't want to get into. We're arguing
Okay,
semantics.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll take this on
Um,
and share it with Doug over the weekend.
Okay. Yeah,
And
there
I'm
might be a
available
better way of saying this. I don't.
I'm available too to help if you want anyone to just take a look at any language. I'm
Okay.
happy.
All right. Well,
Thanks, Dina.
you be careful what you
Yeah.
ask for.
Well, I don't have plans this weekend because I don't barbecue. I don't have children. I mean, I will honor our fallen soldiers, of course, but I don't have any plans this weekend. So
All right.
Yeah, I'm available too,
Um,
just because I just got off of 10 days of vacation.
Well, I'm wanting to
I'm like,
do
okay.
some decompressing after this week, so I got limited. I wanted to. What is it that we wanted to come back?
We wanted to quickly look at the survey questions, and there's
Oh,
clearly
yeah.
some on the survey questions that have to be changed. So just kind of quickly go through and see how
And-
we set it up. Very simple
Yeah.
language, very easy to
So, and-
understand.
And I think it was in looking at how the DEI part's being framed for this. Chris, can you share your screen? Do you have anything to
For
share?
the DEI piece, it's exactly the same as was presented on Wednesday. These are the
All right.
choices, and I'll just put it in the framework in the same template, and there we'll have it. It's
All right.
yeah, we can look at it if you want to again right now.
I know, I think there's an interest in see if, is the survey in
Yeah,
some
the
form
survey
that
covers
can be
that.
presented?
The
You want
survey,
to just show that?
Yeah, I can do that. But first, really quick, I think we might have missed one small piece. We talked about putting the new Article 10 piece out to somebody, but we didn't assign anybody for that.
I think
we weren't
what's going to
planning to.
happen is that gets just blended into the districts.
Okay.
that's
And
what I think too.
yeah,
Gotcha.
I think-
Okay.
And isn't that what Kimsey said as well? It's going to, you know, you
It's
have.
just we need to
I mean, just for
transition
tasking out
and-
stuff, not
yeah.
for content wise.
I think we
Okay,
tasked
then-
it to Deanna and Terry to take that on as part of the
Then Chris,
districts.
what is my homework? It's the ethics and the.
I'll go through just my notes on what
Okay.
will happen.
All right.
And thank you, Chuck. This is a huge lift. I appreciate your effort on all this.
I know,
So
really.
for clarity, we're having Doug take another look at that piece. For
Mhm.
ethics, we're having Terry take another look at that piece and draft. For Article 9 and the Charter Review Commission timeline, Terry has been tagged for drafting that. The DEI piece, I've been tagged for that. The districts, to also include this potential new article of transition, is Deanna, supported by Terry. And then partisan, nonpartisan is Chuck, supported by Doug. And anyone else who wants to offer their services. Okay, that's what I have.
So Kim got nothing out of this.
I'm gonna have plenty after. Yeah. So
Okay.
She's putting together a town hall presentation. So
Well,
Yeah.
then we'll let her focus on that.
yeah,
All right, so you want to
Okay,
just
so-
quickly show and then
Yeah,
I need to
I can do that.
get off and
Yeah,
go
see,
order
it's-
Grubhub. I'm getting hungry.
So yeah, this is just again, just the gist of this is to guide our inquiry and to get feedback. This is not necessarily. Do you see the survey? No, you see the wrong
we
screen.
No, I
did
see
until-
your desktop.
Sharing the screen, not the. Okay.
I think we just saw your MySpace page, Chris.
Oh, my MySpace 2002 up in here. How do I go back?
You had it. There
there
it
you
is.
go.
Oh, I see. It did the whole like monitor, not the. Okay. Anyway, whatever. Now I'm gonna be looking over here the whole time. That's fine. I still respect you. So yeah, the survey is a couple notes on it just in general. This is language for the survey and to guide some town hall questions. It's not necessarily the exact questions being asked for the exact wording of the amendments, but to understand the perspectives and what folks would like to see along certain other topics. And so some context notes here, it's just minor details. We have a little preamble, just kind of a good survey practice is to kind of orient folks. This is what's going on. This is what it's going to look like. This is what you can expect from this survey. We're grateful for your participation. And that's mostly what this piece is. And then we have a slide for each of the individual questions, I think. And so looking at the partisan, nonpartisan, and I maybe need to rethink how I'm describing this one, but we have two that we're asking is how do you feel about the county council being partisan and nonpartisan? And how do you feel about the other roles being partisan or nonpartisan? Because in effect, if they're choosing everybody, it's the county and the other roles, but also they had the opportunity to comment on just those other roles too. And they're essentially the same question. One is just asking about those county councilor piece, and one is asking about all these other roles piece.
That's fine. I think we should.
So
keep
it's just
it
a brief
separate.
description. It's like 2 sentences maybe for each of these, really just trying to keep it as simple as possible.
And
Right
I can
now,
tell you, there's a lot of support among the executive electeds for this nonpartisan one.
okay.
All of them.
Look forward to hearing what folks have to say because it'll be interesting
Okay.
no matter what, I'm sure. So yeah, so this is just it describes the most basic essence of what happens with this choice.
Okay.
Same with redistricting. It orients, this is our current districts. The proposal potentially is to change to 5. And this also includes a piece about if the chair is wrapped into that. If this changes to 5, that chair position disappears. So all this considered, do you think that we should keep 4 districts or increase to 5? And each question has an open field for why or why not, and also what other thoughts would you like to share on the subject? Because a lot of people have thoughts that are not necessarily part of their why or why not. Length of time between reviews, maybe there's
Do
a
you
better
think
way
people,
to know that.
excuse me,
Go
do you
ahead.
think people will ask, well, if you add 5, that's going to cost more money. But in reality, you got 5 already there. They may not think that through. I don't
It
know.
might actually save money because you're no longer paying the extra 20% for the chair.
Right.
And that'll be something that'll come up in town halls and such, where I'm not sure we can actually really comment on that. So this is really,
Yeah, it's
we're
getting
going to be
into
careful
weeds.
at the town halls not to have discussions so much. We can respond to
Yeah.
questions that we can answer, but we can't really get into it. We definitely need to hear that feedback. If Joe Schmo thinks that it's going to cost more to switch to 5 districts, we can let him tell us that, but I don't think we can correct him if he's wrong. Because we can't necessarily say exactly what that finances would look like, but that's a whole other piece we'll have to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole communication.
There's a lot
But,
of people don't understand how
talking
county
point.
government works or how the
Yeah.
process works. And so somehow you need to get them off, because they'll go off on the wrong track and go on social media and do something else. So we need to be educating people as they go on.
Inevitably, but
Probably
Yeah.
will
Something
anyway.
that,
Yeah.
that
something to
the
keep in mind with just
communications
how we talk
committee will
about
talk
those
about.
kind of elements and how to tell them apart. I'll just get through this really quick. The ethics one, basically, with this idea in mind, the commission wanted to create a office and or a commission. Do you like an office? Do you like a commission, or do you like both? Why or why not? Whatever thoughts you have. And it's the same thing for the diversity, equity, inclusion.
So the
Yeah,
ethics
pretty-
part, you're going to get a question of, well, who are they overseeing in the ethics part?
Okay, well, we'll be ready to, with details, and we'll get talking points to you, to the chairs, with details if somebody asks. But I don't think that town halls are going to be that interactive. I mean, with people asking that, but we'll have talking points. So
That's what town halls are.
yeah, but we'll have talking points. That's not,
Okay.
we're not gonna, this committee's not putting together talking points. It would be the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just wanting you to be prepared because there'll be the question will come up.
Well, I mean, okay.
Because the people say, well, you're talking about ethics in Joe operating the Burgerville down the street, or are you talking
No.
about ethics? So it's really just
This
be
is the language I
prepared.
use for the DEI to specify what it is overseeing.
Mhm.
So
Right.
maybe that'll work. Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
Well, same thing. You like A, B, or both. And then we just finish off with a instead of a preamble, we have the ELDMERP, which is just closing it out. Thank you, and also giving them links to continue to follow along. And we can adjust this as we have new information or sites to share as well. So that's just the gist of it. But you just see how like extremely simply we put those questions forth is just to get the thoughts in general, with the idea that all of this information will come back to all the commissioners to review at their leisure.
Is that really an ELDMERP or is it a postamble?
It's the post. It should be, yeah, wait, you're right. We'll make it important stuff.
I wouldn't put something, I wouldn't have
I'm
anything,
sure
I
it'll
wouldn't
be-
have any
yeah.
statement like that. I would just say, thank you for participating in the survey. Because when I first look at, I'm like, what?
Okay, again,
Most people are
we're a
not gonna
patent
get that.
drafting committee, so you guys want
You wouldn't have any of this stuff, Terry?
if you want to
What's that?
stand and
You wouldn't have any of the content here?
No, that thing at the top.
Oh, no, of course not. No, absolutely not.
I
think
thought
it's
that
a
Chuck
test
was
to see
saying,
if you're
oh, okay,
awake.
there you go.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
good. I'm good with that. I'm like, no, take it away.
Boring. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, let's get your opinion on charter amendments. And by the way, please figure out this backwards word while we're at it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Of course not. Yeah.
All right.
I was finished things at like 11:30 at the night. Yeah. We're
I
allowed to have a
think it's
little
good,
fun.
but I'm not going to edit this by committee, and it's not my role. So I think it looks good, and hopefully you guys can get this all cleaned up and ready to go. We got some really good response.
Yeah, my only comment is that, what we'll be presenting at the town hall again, just restating that it needs to match the survey. So it's what it is and why, and ask for input. Because if you just have what it is, I just want to make sure that we also are copying in the survey the same why, like, you know, we're even looking at it. That way they have that context in the survey as well.
So is this this is an online survey right now? We're not going to do any hard paper survey.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so when I was
Um,
working on the
Could
survey,
you put, if we had our documents, our presentation documents online, could you just put?
You could put a
links?
link to them. Yeah.
That'd make it easy, and then bearing them with all this text and something that we're telling them, you can finish this in 3 minutes.
Yeah, we'll have the information from the
Can I-
survey. It'll also be available for them to answer in form fills and in emails if they want to. Or it's just one piece of the whole puzzle. Yep.
So, just to answer Kim, like, you know, when we were putting the survey questions together last night, we didn't want to get in too much of the why, because then it would seem like we're trying to influence you. So it's very brief, and the why, it's not because, oh, you know, we want ethics things because we want to clean up our county government. You know, I mean, we just wanted to make it to, you know, that's why we added like to restore confidence and trust in county governments. And just one simple sentence is what me and Chris kind of agreed that it should be. I mean, we shouldn't be trying to, with the survey, influence anybody's opinion. So, of course, when we decide like what we're going to do, then, you know, we will be more of an influencer, and or I mean, I don't want to say influencer, but more of a you know,
Yeah.
if find that better term to do that. So with this survey, but if you want any input, I mean, Chris can send that to you, and Mike,
Yeah.
and we appreciate any input that you have on that as well. But
Yeah, there needs to be a statement of why. I thought what you said was good there. It's sort of like the value type statements,
Mhm.
because people want to know what we've been doing for the last 5 months, and so
Right.
we've
Yeah.
been
so we
thinking
try to
about this
keep that
stuff.
very, very brief.
Yeah, but
Um,
we do need some why in there for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rationale why we're bringing it forward.
Yeah, 'cause
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to
I think
pull
there
us
is a
back
why
to our
in
rule.
all of them, but it's
Yeah,
very, very brief.
Could we get Jeopardy starts in 9 minutes? So could we
Yeah,
get back
well,
to
we're wanting to order Grubhub, and I've been holding up my wife and ordering anything until we're done. So I wasn't
Yeah,
sure when we'd
I
be
need to
done.
drive home.
Oh, wow.
I think the communication committee needs to do Jeopardy for county government.
Oh, that's a good
and
idea.
you go through the
That'd be
charter.
fun.
You are
That's a good
such
Great
a,
idea, Deanna.
you're such
Thanks for
a,
volunteering to run it, Doug.
Doug will be
I don't
Alex
watch Jeopardy.
Trebek.
I can't handle the questions.
So
Well, we
Chris,
gotta go watch it too.
could you forward the slideshow to Kim and Mike, and CC me on that as well, if they have any changes or any
Yeah.
suggestions on
I'll
that?
give my
That'd be
co-chairs
awesome.
one sentence to add context. Not why, but
All right,
Okay.
I'm going to stop recording this meeting. I think we're done.